Hello, Lauren.
No, there's two of you. Daniel, Jess, hi. How are you guys?
What's up, man? Good on you, dude.
Great, thanks. Random question time. Can you guys tell me what Dolph is?
Dolph is short for Dolph Lundgren, the actor, the bad guy in Rocky 2, I think.
And Blade Runner, wasn't he in Blade Runner?
He wasn't in Blade Runner. He wasn't in Blade Runner. That was another guy.
Oh, okay, sorry.
We gotta get this right. You can't get this wrong. To be honest, we don't even know him that well. We just know that he's a very well-known B movie actor. Yeah, we can't really say we're the biggest fans. But Dolph, because me and Jesse are two dudes who just do a bunch of work. How would you describe it? We just make cool videos, man. We just make some cool videos. We try to. Half of them are not cool.
Okay. That sounds simple enough.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But like the two videos I remember seeing that you guys have done is music videos for Josh Kempen and for Cockles.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Hey, we love music. And we love making free music videos. Yeah. We love torturing ourselves that way. Yeah.
Who doesn't?
A guy we met through a mutual friend, and you needed some creative work done. Yeah, I kind of just helped it out, and I don't know, it just has been kind of yeah, it's just like a part of like, I don't know, company practice. Yeah, it began with doing like album art for him.
Okay.
And we had this idea of doing a music video, but the music video would actually just be about me and Jesse, like literally. We were like, well, we're going to do it for free. We're going to make a video about how it's all about us trying to shoot the video. And then like that just fell apart, so we ended up doing another one that's like all orange. We're just not good at being meta yet. Yeah.
So you kind of accidentally ended up making just a really cool music video.
Yeah, and it happened like in a week. And he was like, guys, this other one, like, I don't know how you're gonna pull off this other one. It's not working, and I need a video. So we're like, wow, yeah. He called us a while ago, well, Facebook us a while ago, and was like, hey, I heard you can do music videos for free. No, it wasn't for free. He actually put a lot of money towards it. And then with that one, we also had this huge idea that kind of, it was too big. Yeah, it all kind of fell apart. We wanted to shoot in this amazing house, and like a few days before we were going to shoot in the house, the lady got robbed, and she was like, "I'll shoot the camera."
Yeah.
So we had to just improvise, and we were going to bring a fake gun into the house, into the scene, and I think, the world just like didn't line up. The stars weren't aligned. And then we were like, good, we'll just shoot whatever in our apartment. And then we literally shot that other one in our apartment. And we're actually busy with a new one for him. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So an important element in that music video is an Alastair face mask.
Yeah.
Is that something you guys just had lying around?
Oh, man. Dude, we drove to Krugersdorp for that thing. Yeah. Like, we went all the way to Krugersdorp to this place called Hollywood Costumes, I think. And little known fact, they couldn't make us a replica of his face because it would have cost way too much. It would have cost like 40 grand or something. Okay. So we went into the back room where they kind of had all the masks blanks, like before they were painted. And we looked at this like Indiana Jones. Yeah, it was an Indiana Jones mask that hadn't been painted yet. And we were like, that could kind of look like it. It's the white veil. And we just said, like, we asked them really, really, really nicely if they could just look at a photo from Instagram and kind of like paint the mask up to look like him. And that was the really nice, creepy, horrible result that we got. Yeah, but it's beautiful in its own way.
Yeah,
because the whole original idea was for him to rob these two old people. That was the whole original idea. Okay. He was smart, and the joke would be that like it's his actual face, and then he wasn't actually rob them. He like tied them up in this house, and then he was dancing and performing his song in front of his victim. But then that whole thing fell apart, so the lady got robbed, and then it ended up being, us shooting him doing some wacky stuff. Yeah, this is making him sound terrible. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's making Alastair sound like a really, really interesting and fascinating guy. I'm thinking I should interview him for my podcast.
Please do, and just apologize from our behalf for anything and everything we might need to be forgiven for. Yeah, forgiven for, yeah.
Sounds good.
For literally just making a joke of his face. We did put him in a bath with the mask on, a super steamy bath, and asked him to smoke cigarettes in it. And I think it almost gave him like a freaking brain aneurysm. Yeah, because he was a little drunk.
but on the other hand, you're still making music videos for him, so it can't have been that bad.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess he still likes them. Yeah, but you know what? The best thing to do is to ask him.
I guess so. You know what? I'm gonna go interview him right now.
Okay, that's like the best idea ever. Tell him Jesse says he has a little kiss on the butt cheek.
I'll do that. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. I thought an interesting place to start or thing to mention might be you seem to really be into dogs.
Yeah, dogs are the best.
And
Grandpa, get down. I think there's always been a dog in my family since I can remember, and they've always been good. What do you call it? Compadres. Good pals. And just they've always been in my life. So I've always wanted one. As soon as I moved out of home, I kind of wanted a dog. So I got 2, and then I've just been kind of progressing from there. Yeah. So I'm just a fan. I like what dogs bring to the table.
Yeah, and then also I've gotten the impression in the past that Shortstraw seems to be a bunch of kind of dog people.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I think we are mostly dog people. Tom's he's more of a cat person, purely because he has a cat and doesn't have any dogs. Not that he doesn't like dogs, but he travels a lot, so I think cats have slightly less maintenance. Although he got his cat because one day a cat just came to the house and then didn't leave. And he was like, cool, I'll just take this cat. This cat will be mine now.
I think because that happens a lot.
Yeah. No, and the imagery of dogs is cool. Like the Shortstraw logo was a dog. It still kind of is. We've never been very good at updating that. Dogs are just, we just dig dogs.
Yeah,
they're friends.
But so how did Shortstraw get together? How did that start? Not at the dog fan club.
No, not really. It was born out of a high school friendship between me and Oliver Nathan. Mm-hmm. So we played in bands. Well, we became friends in grade 8, so when we were 13, because we lived on the same road, so we used to walk home together, and discovered that we both played music. And so we played in bands kind of throughout high school and throughout university, and we played in one band that was relatively serious. It was the first kind of proper band we played in, which we had absolutely no role in the management of, which is neither of our fortes. Maybe it's a bit more of Ollie's forte now. And then that band kind of split up. It almost got to the point where that band was taking it too seriously, and we were like, this is not what we imagined like band life to be, where you get we never got in trouble for anything, but it was taken quite seriously. And then when that band split up, we were like, cool, let's do something that's not serious at all. And we had no intention of actually ever playing shows or anything. We were just getting together to have jams, which was always the kind of fun part for us. So we started doing that, and then eventually, after however many months of doing it, we ended up having some songs. And then someone said, well, when can we hear it? We were initially called That's What Your Mother Said Last Night as well. That's how unseriously we took it. And then a few more people asked when shows were going to happen, so we decided to eventually just put a show together. And then from there on out, it's history, man. We just jammed the 2 of us for the first kind of year and a half, and then we had enough songs to record an EP. So we got together and we found a guy to record us, and then in the process of doing that EP, we laid down all the extra instruments that go along with recordings of songs. Unless you're Japandroids or successful two-piece bands, we had to throw in some bass and some harmonies and some guitar and stuff to make it sound like any good. So from there, then we had to grow the band and get.
So was it already called Shortstraw?
It was called, yeah. From the first show, it was called Shortstraw, yeah. Just because that's what your mother said last night, didn't exactly roll off the tongue. Which is, funnily enough, what your mother said last night.
And that first show, was that a kind of getting a slot on someone's lineup?
No, it was
DIY kind of thing.
It was fully DIY. We were very DIY for the first 4 years of our kind of existence. There was a guy called Rian Burta used to own a record store in Melville called Canned Applause.
No, yeah.
And every now and again he used to, this is in 2007? December 2007. So he occasionally used to do these bands that would play shows at his store. And I had met him, but I wasn't friends with him, but I was friends with someone called Dan Apter, who knew him quite well. And this was in MySpace days. We were communicating via fucking MySpace. And Dan was like, yeah, if you want to play a show, I'll ask him, I'm sure you won't mind. And he was like, oh, two-piece, thinking that we were two acoustic guitars and a little folky duo. So he booked us, and we rocked up with a guitar and a drum kit. And he was like, oh, okay. And it was actually a really nice show. Were
you playing acoustic?
I played acoustic with a loop pedal.
Okay.
Executed horrendously, but we got through it. And it was the first time I was singing. I had never sung in anything before. I mean, I tried to sing in high school, but I wasn't really a singer. I played bass in the band before, and did really bad harmonies and stuff. So this is the first time I was it was a sit-down show. Everyone was sitting on the floor around us. I mean, it took about 30 people for it to feel really full. So it was a really nice show, and the response was good. So we figured we'd carry on, and then we just kind of played maybe 1 or 2 shows a month, maximum. To be honest, I think in that first year that we were together, we only played about 4 or 5 shows, because it was very much just a side project, kind of doing it in our spare time just to have fun, because we enjoyed it.
Taking it seriously.
Yeah, and then when it came time to record the EP, then we suddenly started going, okay, well, if we're investing money in recording an EP, we might as well try and play some shows. And then we started doing it. It was a very DIY thing, but it was also, we're doing it for the fun of it. So we made sure that we continued to have fun while we were doing it. And then, we just made friends with whatever bands. I mean, this is not any exception to what bands do now, but we tried our best to make friends with everyone that we could, and formed a bit of a community in the kind of unknown bands in Melville. So whenever shows would come around, we generally play the shows with the same bands. Occasionally the new band would join. And I mean, I'm just going off on a tangent here, because and then we eventually started doing these bouches, and that's what kind of really got a bit of an audience following to get us to kind of.
So that was that monthly from the start.
So it was. I used to work above Mama Shabine in Greenside, and we used to go down and have a beer there after work most days. So we got to know the owners really well, and they used to do these kind of awful Sunday afternoon band things where they get one band to do a 6-hour set. Was it 6 hours? Maybe it was 3 hours. It just felt like 6 hours, because they'd have to fill it with covers. Because a band willing to play for $1,000 for 3 hours on a Sunday isn't going to have 3 hours worth of material. So she found out that we had a band. This is Fadia, the owner of one of the owners, and she was like, "Do you guys want to play?" And I was like, "If we do it, we aren't going to do a 3 hour set. We'll get some other bands in and do a sort of mini day festival." And she was like, yeah, whatever, as long as they're keen to play for nothing, then it's fine. And this was around about the same time that Shane Durant was doing the Wolves sessions, where he kind of introduced this concept of a semi-compulsory tip jar. So we were like, oh, that's brilliant. We'll just tell people it's free and then ask them for money at the end of it. Whatever. So we started doing that, and we got whatever. So that was a monthly thing, the last Sunday of every month. Oh, because they were doing it every Sunday. So for the first 3 Sundays of the month, it was different bands doing these 3 hour sets, and the last Sunday we'd do a boosh. And And it just developed momentum the more we did it, and it was rad. And that's kind of got a bit of a name for us, that we were this kind of community kind of band. And people and Booshes were becoming more and more fun, because they were starting slightly later and ending slightly later, and people were getting a little loose on a Sunday, and everyone likes drinking on Sundays. And it was usually pretty fun. I mean, the bands that we'd always get bands that we were friends with, but also bands that we thought were rad. So it was genuinely about 4 hours of, like, in our opinion, really good music. So that caught on, and that just kind of grew from there. And I think that was, I mean, we also played a lot of shows, and we put a lot of like effort into the PR and hype behind those shows. So and it kind of worked. I mean, this was like 8 years ago. So it's like the effort was, it worked, I guess. So people started coming to the shows, and then Boosh got a name for itself, and then we kind of developed our name from that as well. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And well, what I thought of earlier is you mentioned kind of bands from Melville. Did you kind of grow up here?
So no, I grew up I was born in Cape Town.
Okay.
And then almost immediately moved to PE. So I spent my first 12 years in Port Elizabeth. My mom was a high school teacher, my gran was a ballet teacher.
Okay.
So I used to go to school, and then while my mom was still teaching, I used to go hang out at my grandparents' house, and I don't know what relevance this has, but
I was wondering what was going on.
And hang out with my grandparents' ballet students, which was always quite a treat. So toward the first 12 years were there. I suppose it does have some influence on music, because I went to a school that offered music as a subject.
Okay.
So I played trombone for the first.
Okay.
Well, that was the first instrument I kind of played. I always wanted to play music with no real skill involved, until I started playing trombone, which I didn't think I was particularly good at. I only did it for a couple of years, and then we moved to Joburg, and we lived in Parkhurst, and I went to Greenside Primary. And I met some people, and that was only for standard 4 and standard 5, or grade 6 and 7, so PE coming through there. And then I lived in Parkhurst while I went to high school, and that's where I kind of met all my other like-minded friends in terms of like the rock music.
Kind of stuff started.
Yeah, and everyone played guitar, so I started playing bass. Someone said, "No, you play trombone. It's a bass clef instrument, so you should be playing bass."
No one needed a trombone.
No one wanted it. Well, I tried to actually continue playing trombone when I first moved up, but because they didn't offer it at school, it was like a huge mission.
Yeah.
To have to go to JCE every time I wanted to have a trombone lesson. During office hours, my mom was working, so it's like it just didn't follow through. So I didn't grow up. So then I didn't even kind of start playing music in Melville. It was all in Parkhurst. But that's where Ollie and I used to walk home from. And after school, most days, there was a drum kit set up at my house with a bass amp, and Ollie and I used to go home and jam some drum and bass. Yeah. Not the typical drum and bass. It was really bad, like slap bass and some simple drums. But it was always a jam, and we did that probably like 3 days a week, 4 days a week. So it really instilled a sense of kind of jamming into us, which was cool. And then as soon as I finished high school, we moved to Melville. So as soon as I started playing and gigging bands, I was in Melville, I guess.
And in those early days of kind of, I guess, the early Shortstraw days, were you writing?
Yeah, when it first started, Ollie and I would jam, but I suppose everything would come from like a semblance of a song that I would have written on my own. But so that was mostly, I would write a skeleton of a song, and then we'd finish it together, and then just gig it completely prematurely, which was cool. And then as soon as the band kind of formed, as soon as it became like a 4-piece, it was a 3-piece very briefly, and then it became a 4-piece. And almost ever since then, songs have been written together, like as a jam session. So someone would come up with a riff, or not often a drum beat, but like or like a chord progression or something, and then we'd play it together, and they would form a song somehow. I'd mumble a melody and then write the lyrics later. Yeah, and that's pretty much how it's gone up until now. Obviously with the members changing, the songs will change as well. Yeah.
And then I think I read somewhere that on like making the second album you like wait away.
Oh, that was
like writing.
We tried our best to, because that was the first one written with the lineup as it is now, apart from Ollie being there and Jakey not. And that, we like, there's the delusions of grandeur where you're like, oh yeah, like bands go away to their beach house for 6 months and write their album. We're like, okay, cool, we got a week, and the furthest, like, we don't have a beach house, we can go to Furcakers Corp. It's like, all right, I mean, that'll work. But it all backfired because Tom got sick on like day 2, and just we couldn't jam. So like we'd have these practices, but he'd have to like intermittently stop so he can go and throw up. Because Tom, that's just Tom. Like when he gets sick, he gets fucking sick. So it kind of worked like that. I think we wrote like 2 or 3 of the songs in that session. With the intention was for us to craft the 4 we had already, because we had recorded 4 songs as demos before we went there. We were like, these are something cool. Let's take that kind of concept and take it over there and finish writing this album. But we didn't get as many songs as we thought we would. I think we wrote 2 songs actually only. We like came up with some ideas, but we only finished 2 of them. So that's what that one was. But I mean, and then the rest of that was figured out in like the spare room at my house when I was living in Blackberry.
And so I mean. As Shortstraw, had you gotten your like songwriting thing figured out and streamlined and
Well, no. So for that album, we consciously, like, 'cause it was the first stuff that Tom was writing with us, and he's like a very capable guitarist, the best guitarist that we had like played with before. So and we were quite keen to do the kind of Afro jingle jangle Quella vibes. So we consciously went about trying to write songs with that in mind. So it was by no means the first time. I mean, we weren't by no means like old hands at writing songs like that. So no, it was a fresh.
And then also, I mean, it feels like the next project, which I keep the name wrong. I forgot about Youthless. So let's go to Youthless then. Was that a similar experience?
So Youthless, we were probably a little naive in thinking that we could ride off the success of the previous album.
Okay.
We were like, that's cool. We've made like a bit of a name for ourselves. We didn't want to go like full concept, but we invested a lot of money into that album. We wrote like 25 songs. We're going to whittle it down to the best 10. That was the idea, and there was like a full-on concept behind the album. So I mean, it obviously has to do with how we've progressed as people as our careers gone on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also. The idea of concept albums often feel unnatural and forced, but if you're all kind of at the same stage of life and you've got experiences and something to say, then I think sometimes a concept album happens naturally. Yeah.
So I mean, three of the 5 of us were at a similar point in our lives just because we were all the same age, and then Tom and Jakey are best friends. So it was, and they're 4 years younger than us. Jakey 5. Right. So they weren't going through the crisis of, oh my god, I'm 30 years old now and I've got nothing to show for it. But they were able to kind of, because they were like a duo together, it wasn't like it wasn't weird. It was also the first album that Jakey worked on, or was part of. So and that one, we sunk a lot of money into. We had the concept behind it. We wanted to change the sound up. We didn't want to jingle jangle again because jingle jangling had been done. A lot of other bands were doing it. I'm not saying we were the first band to do it with that album, but like it had worked for us, and we were like, let's not do the same album again. So we really wanted to kind of broaden our horizons and do some more like guitar heavy stuff, or like distortion heavy stuff, I guess. But while still trying to like maintain a commercial appeal. And we thought that the name behind it would have gotten people behind it like initially, but it kind of backfired a little bit. We didn't get any commercial success out of it. And I mean, album sales weren't amazing either. So technically it was a bit of a flop, but I mean, it was fine. And then we went and we toured it as best we could, and we got to take it. We had been overseas before that. Yeah, and we were tried to be slightly influenced by some of the travels that we had done before that. But like, I don't know, it kind of worked. I still like the album. I don't think it's like bad by any means, but it's obviously not our strongest work. But the idea was to just kind of branch out and try and do something new. That was that one, yeah.
Yeah, and then you mentioned album sales weren't great. Were they okay on the previous one?
I know it's just so weird because it was the first album that so Youthless we didn't like when we did Good Morning Sunshine we did it for like next to nothing. We like didn't pay a lot for it, and we had no expectations for it because the album before that hadn't done it particularly well. We released that one on Bandcamp. It was that pay what you like kind of situation with money goes into PayPal. I mean, people, when you pay what you like, people pay nothing. That's just how it goes. So like we made a little bit of money off that, but we're like, oh, but it wasn't the right platform to try and do it. So I think it's hard to say. I mean, we've sold a few like physical copies of it, I guess, but like it's not like platinum or gold or anything like that.
And I mean, the less you spend on something, the easier
it is to do that. So with the next one, we spent in our lives, it's a small fortune on it. Like we got a woman in New York to master it, which I still don't really know what mastering is. It's like you made it louder and you charge us that much. So yeah, we spent a small fortune and we're like, oh no, it's okay because of the name behind us. We're gonna put it on iTunes or Apple Music, whatever it is. We'll make our money back like that. And it didn't happen. So we were like, okay, cool. Like whatever. So for the next, and then we spent 2 years kind of touring that, not touring it, but like we spent a year touring and promoting it to no real avail. I mean, it's not like we lost, like when we played shows, we were playing to no one. It was we still had a cool following. It's just that album, like people were still asking for songs from the album before. It's like, what have we done wrong? I mean, that's still to the point to the day, and like now. It's like everyone's just like, play Bikini Weather. It's like, fuck off. Or play Keanu Reeves. That's the fuck. I mean, it's like, all right, dude. So, and then, so when the time came for us to start thinking about a new album, we wanted to do something. I mean, we don't learn our lesson. Then we wanted to do something fucking entirely like novel again. Well, for us at least. It wasn't like the most novel concept, but... So we were like, how do we do? We wanted to release new stuff. It was slightly different stuff too. Like some of it was a little bit heavier. Some of it was like there's almost no jingle jangle at all, which we don't regret. You know, it's just we wanted to go into a slightly new direction, but we didn't have enough. And we wanted to release, but we didn't have enough songs for the whole album yet.
Okay.
So that's how that whole idea came about. Was like we've got 2 songs and we want to put them out now. And the normal approach would have been, cool, these are just the singles for the next album, but we didn't have any guarantee when or how we'd write the next album. So we just decided to try and do something completely foolish and commit to doing a music video and a song once a month. That was fucking retarded.
Yeah, because that's also something that seems like a sensible idea, spreading an album out over a year or something.
Yeah.
But I think when you get down to it and actually... Because you wrote them, did you also write them one by one?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we clumped. There were a couple of clumps. So the first, I think, the first 3 were written together. Well, recorded at least before we had released the first one. So we're like, cool, we've got 3 months grace here. And then we slacked off and suddenly had to do one a month for a bit. And then we got to a point where we had like a good 4 or 5 lined up, so we could kind of take the pressure off because we had to go on a tour. And then when we came back, it was legitimately we were going into like a practice room.
Because I mean, at that point, you'd kind of committed to releasing one.
And we were like, we don't want to do 10. Let's do it. Yeah, and that was also like the kind of thing that like it didn't backfire, but it just didn't work out as well as we wanted it to. Was we thought we were going to get people who would be keen to do these like low budget videos with us. And we didn't. We only got like 2 or 3 of the 12, so the rest we had to do ourselves. So that made it like quite a bit harder. But what was cool is that we were like towards the end, at least we were, and the beginning, we were going to the studio on in the first week of the month. Like the last week of the month before. We'd go in, we'd like, cool, we need to write some songs. We had ideas, but we hadn't got any songs down. And we'd go and we'd jam a few ideas, and we'd be like, oh, that one works. And then we try and like form like a semblance of a song. We'd come back 2 days later and we'd like make it a song. Then the next week we'd go in and we'd finish the song on the Tuesday. Thursday we'd go in a studio and we'd record half of it, record the rest of it over the weekend, sit on it for like a couple of days, make any tweaks the week after that, and then be like, fucking, let's make a music video. So it like really kept us on our toes, and like we were like very creatively kind of open at the time. So anything, we weren't shutting any ideas down, and I think it resulted in a couple of songs that, I mean, we wouldn't have written otherwise. So I think it was a cool exercise. We won't do it again. It was very stressful at points, considering it's a side project for everyone. You know, we've all got day jobs. So it's not like we can wake up on a Monday morning and be like, oh, cool, we'll go shoot a music video. It's like, okay, let's find a Sunday when everyone doesn't have something on and try and make a video and do that once a month. So it was hectic, but it was a nice experience to do. Yeah.
And then was it kind of the after that project finished that you went hiatus, let's take a break?
A little bit. It was like kind of halfway through that we were kind of, well, not all of us, but like some of us were seriously overextending ourselves with how much work we were doing for not no reward, but less reward than we were hoping for. And it was burning us out because we were doing it on top of our day jobs and touring on top of that. So it was just like there was just no time to chill out. So we were like, it was just necessary for us to not kind of lose our minds. And
that's exactly the thought I had when I heard it is the release a single every month thing feels like you deserve a break after that. You can like take a couple of months off.
So that was totally the idea, and it was also just because it hadn't done as well as we were hoping it would have done as well. I mean, if it had gone how we all were hoping it was going to go, we all would have quit our day jobs and we'd be doing it. We'd be doing it still now.
And moving to the States or something.
Yeah, or whatever, but alas, that didn't happen. It's just I can't remember what I was going to say now, but it just felt like the right thing to do. Oh, and we weren't gonna like break up and then come back for a reunion in like 2 years' time. Like it's not that situation. We were all keen to kind of carry on doing it, just not immediately. Yeah. And I felt like we spent a year making that album. We can take a year off to do whatever anyone else wants to do. Like Tom was under serious pressure with his work. Because he's a freelancer, so every time we were shooting music videos or spending like nights in studio or going on tours, he was having to turn down his work and resulted in making no money that month. Yeah. So he was like, resenting is the wrong word. I mean, obviously you've got to ask Thomas, don't let it come from me. But it was becoming a real strain on his career. So it was just a necessary thing to do. And here we are. Yeah.
So then this is the perfect segue into Cockles.
Yeah.
Which when did the thought start of like doing a little solo or side project or something?
It's kind of been lingering for the last few years. Just because we write everything as a band, it's always nice as a songwriter to be able to sometimes have songs that you write solely on your own, not solely on your own, but that I can go back and I can write and be the creator of. I mean, it's a bit of it seems like a selfish thing to like a selfish concept, but I don't know if it really is. It's just I've got these are songs that wouldn't necessarily work for Shortstraw, and I didn't write them all years ago. The idea I was keen to do it, and the idea initially was for me to write, record, play every instrument myself in my little room in the studio or in a little office here at my house, but that I'm just not like I don't have the time to learn how to do all that shit, And like at the end of last year when we were like, cool, we're gonna take a break for a year, I was like, awesome, fuck this solo project, I'm just gonna chill for a bit. And then within weeks I was just like bored out of my skull, going well, not bored, but like I found myself going, I want to be fucking making music because I just want to be creating something. I can't paint, so what else can I do? Yeah. So it happened quite quickly where I was like, let me just do it. There's no time like the present. Yeah, right. And I'm a bit of a sucker for punishment, obviously.
I mean, I was also interested to see that, like how a little project like that goes on the stage, and I think your first show was with a full band.
It was all with a full band, because I was writing these. I mean, I have songs that aren't Cockles songs. They're another project songs that I have made no real progress apart from writing them. That are just acoustic, maybe with a little bit of like strings, and they're super somber, and it's the whole kind of Bon Iver being my favorite band. want to be Justin Vernon, but there is not really a market for it in this country. So I don't want to put my heart and soul into something that it's just gonna it's destined to not work. So that and that was the initial concept when I was like, that's what I want to do on the side. Definitely on Shortstraw songs. That's what I wanted to do. And then I was actually the Fabian, Fabian Singh. Mm-hmm. So Fabes was living here before he went overseas with Jeremy, and he was like, yeah, dude, do you want to record a demo? And I was like, yeah, let's record a demo. Awesome, thanks, because I don't know how to do it myself. That's brilliant. And up until the morning of me going to do that, I was going to do this somber little falsetto-y acoustic thing with him. And then literally an hour before, I had been fiddling around with the concept of a song that wasn't going to work with the vibe that I was trying to go for. And I was like, no, if I'm going to do it, let me do it like this. And that was what became Joshing Around. And I went and, so I saw a track with him, just did the acoustic and a little guide vocal. And he's like, oh, cool, they're the drums. Have a bash. What's your idea? And I was like, fuck, I haven't played drums since I was in high school. Apart from like a tinkle, like a snap and a crackle. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And in the process of that 3 hours spent in his little flat, it came out, and I was like, this is what Cockles sound is. And then I was like, I can play the drums, I'm gonna record everything myself, but I'm not gonna do it. I'll do it in a proper studio or whatever. And did it and recorded it, and I was like, this is rad. Wrote a few more songs that were kind of in a similar vein, and came down to record the second song. And I was tracking the drums. I was trying my best to track the drums, and the crushing realization that I can't actually play the drums dawned on me. So it's a full band vibe. In an ideal world, I would have played everything myself, but it's just realistically that ain't gonna happen. And in a live scenario, it's cool. But these are songs that I've written. I've at least written all the musical parts, so I've composed it myself. I'm not necessarily tracking everything myself, so I can quite comfortably say that it's my project, which is a nice thing to do. And I put a band together, and I hate the fact that it's a band, but it's so I'm just writing the music, but when it's on stage, I think it's nice to consider it like a band. Yeah,
and so at least at this point, it's very much your voice, your songs, your thing. And do you see it as a potentially growing into a band and going in a different direction, or?
It's really it's hard to say. It's like I don't think so though, because I think if I am ever jamming, if Shortstraw ever does call it quits, then yeah. But I think for now, it's gonna be. I'm going to be writing them because that's kind of, I have these songs that I've got, and I want to put them out as a band. I want to put them out under Cockles as the kind of with my band. And then I don't know. I'm really bad at this, because I've only ever played in a band that has made that progression. So where it starts off with just me writing them and then becomes a full-on band thing. So. I don't know.
Sorry to interrupt, but you mentioned earlier an early band. You guys didn't have any sort of managerial or admin kind of skills, which I think in Shortstraw you did.
Shortstraw started just the two of us, so it was literally I was the manager, I was the booking agent, I was everything. Which a lot of bands are.
But as the 5-piece, I've gotten the idea that you've got pretty much complementary skills between the 5 people. So
exactly.
You kind of do the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And now those guys aren't with you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So does those kind of things now fall onto you again? And
it does, but
but do you think you've gotten better at it, or?
No, I think I've gotten worse at it because I haven't had to do it in so long. So and now you have to boost Facebook posts. The fuck? I don't know how to do that. Not printing flyers and relying on word of mouth and stuff. So it's tricky. I mean, I was completely like spoiled towards the end. Well, at the end of the Shortstraw stuff, where we had people doing most of these things for us. So no, I mean, like I never didn't enjoy it in the early days of Shortstraw. It's just when someone else was like, "Oh, I'll answer that email for you. I can ask for like a little bit more money than what you're expecting." I was like, "That's way easier than me doing it myself." So now, yeah, I'm not great at it, but I'm quite keen to like relearn those skills.
Yeah.
But I'm also fortunate that in the years being in Shortstraw, I have made some nice connections. So. And I'm starting this one maybe a little more, well, because I've got those connections, I'm starting it a little more officially.
Yeah.
So I'm spending all my savings, but I'm hiring PR people, and I've got a booking agent and all that stuff. So trying to do it properly from the get-go, I guess. Which is, it's exciting and daunting and potentially very foolish, but it's all good, you know, because I'm actually doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Yeah. Not saying that the Shortstraw stuff's not what I want to do, but it's just like it's something different, you know.
Mm-hmm. And the other part of Cockles that I want to ask you about, kind of future plans, is recordings.
Yeah,
you've released one single.
So yeah, so in hindsight, I realized that my releasing plan was completely premature as well, because I'd done that one song and I was so excited about it. I was just like, I want to put this fucking out now.
Yeah.
And I did that, and then I was like, I've got nothing to follow this up with, you know. I kind of like...
Yeah, which I like, I mean, also I don't know much about those kind of things, but I think the idea is generally...
have an album and then release it.
Or release things every couple of months so that attention...
Exactly, yeah.
Attention
So that is the plan. I'm halfway through the album in terms of tracking it. I've written the whole thing. I'm going away in July, so the idea is to finish tracking it before I go away, and then to release it end of July. So that's the idea. It's all written. It's like basically I've got demos of everything. I've recorded like really bad demos myself. So I got like halfway there and writing and recording everything myself. I've done these like shocking bedroom recordings. But well, maybe I'm being a little hard on myself by saying they're shocking, but they aren't very good. But they get the idea across, and like so, and it gives a better sense of what the song's going to sound like than me just jamming on my acoustic.
So these kind of demo recordings are kind of full band.
So that's me programming drums, playing the bass and electrics and stuff myself. So that's me doing everything myself. So when I go into studio, I know exactly what I want. I'll just execute it slightly better. Yeah. So it's been a nice process, and it's all very exciting. I just want to finish the album. I mean, I love recording in studio time, but at this point, because I'm blessed to have something behind me to kind of back it with. Because at this point people are like, there's one song, but no, okay, what's next? So I'm very keen to put it out. And how do you get your shit on Spotify? I don't even know how to do that. But I'll figure it out. CD Baby or something like that. No, so I'll figure it out. But it's all been like, it's a relearning process really, and that's what I was kind of craving towards the end of last year, when it's like we were playing like Shortstraw, we were playing nice shows. But we were becoming kind of complacent in the process. So we were turning down shows that like we weren't like too keen on because like it was too much effort. We were playing shows to like similar crowds every time we played a show. And sometimes it seemed like not as enthusiastic crowds, which is fair enough. That's how shit goes. And because we were becoming complacent, I was just like I was craving that. You know, you've really got to fucking put your heart on your sleeve and try really hard to impress everyone, and that's exactly where I am now. So it's forcing me to stay on my toes, which is the idea. Yeah.
Another thing is also I saw someone make a joke the other day about your name being misspelt on an event poster.
Yeah, that was me. I was making.
But the point being, you're bottom rung again.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah.
As much as people, I think a lot of people think if you've a mildly successsul band, you can kind of ride on that and start midway up the ladder. But I don't think the reality is that.
No, not at all. I mean, look, I've been fortunate to get some nice shows. But most definitely no one fucking knows who I am.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing also I think is you can get some decent shows because you've got contacts.
Yeah.
People know you and know what you're capable of, but if those shows aren't very good, you're going to have 3 good shows and then
Exactly.
you're over.
Exactly, yeah. No, so yeah, I've really got to work for it, and it's nice to be at the bottom again, you know, so like to really kind of look, if I do fuck out, then maybe that says something about me. So it's like, yeah, it's nice to have to try to prove my worth again, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, like I can see that as being an appealing idea of trying something new and going.
Yeah.
Not riding on the coattails of the like.
Yeah, I mean, look, and that also, I mean, that's why it's called Cockles, and I didn't call it by my name. I also don't have the easiest name in the world to fucking spell, but I could have gone both calling it Alastair Thomas and then doing half the set being Shortstraw songs, and doing a classic kind of solo side frontman solo side project kind of vibe. But I kind of purposely wanted to start at the bottom again, you know. And see, like, I mean, and this will really be testament to if the songs are as good as I hope they are. I think, yeah.
So that's the other thing. Your plan is an album.
Yeah, the album is I was going to initially do an EP, and then I wrote more songs, and I'm one of those. I'm too stubborn to be like, nah, that's a B-side. I'm like, nah, fucking put it on an album, man. But I'm legitimately proud of the songs that have been written now. So I do think they should translate into an album.
So that's the other thing I wanted to mention earlier is the and this is the name I keep messing up. It's either those meddling kids or them meddling kids, but I always get it wrong somehow. But that 12 singles project Shortstraw did, were those songs kind of designed to be singles?
Yeah, so I suppose that was one kind of thinking. The thinking behind that was all killer no filler kind of vibe, because we started writing these songs. We're like, this is cool, we want to do a video for it. This is cool, we want to do a video for it. Let's release them. If we release them once a month, they don't nothing kind of falls into the filler kind of territory. We're going to give the attention, we're going to give the same attention to every single one of these songs as we would just to the singles. And that obviously backfired because they are singles and filler for a reason. You know? And once a month people are just bombarded. So if you miss one, you're like, what, they did that one as well? I can't even think about it. So that was the idea, though, because we were like, these are some of the best songs we've ever written. We want people to, we want them to get the attention that we feel that they deserve. But not everyone else felt the same way. You know?
And then, like the Cockles thing, then is there any amount of concept to that album, in terms of concept album?
Yeah, I suppose the one concept is like happy music for sad people. Was like, so it's not the jingle jangle of the Quella vibe that Tom does, but it's like it's major chords with some somber lyrics that are masked as happy lyrics. So that's one of them. But I mean, I'd only written a couple of the songs in it when that was the idea, and the rest of it, whatever, like flowed naturally. There's some like sarky shit in there. There's some relatively fun stuff on there, but like, I mean, the general sense of it is that like it's me, you know, and might come across as happy-go-lucky and smiley, bubbly kind of guy, but you know, like everyone's got their shit, you know. Yeah. And I mean, I'm trying to make relatable music and like relatable lyrics at least, so people can go, oh well, I feel the same way. And I don't know how I feel about it, you know. It's like, I'm not over the fucking moon about the fact that I haven't been to the dentist in a few years, you know. But I mean, it's expensive, you know, and that kind of shit. So yeah, the idea is for people to just be like, I mean, I could have a beer with that guy. But yeah, look, I'm gonna hit this Cockles shit quite hard this year, and then Shortstraw's coming back next year. We'll probably do another album. Even though that's foolish, we just like albums. Maybe we'll do an EP, but it's just like I know EPs are the sensible thing to do, and like most bands are doing that, especially in the day and age where like you're only as good as your last single. But we just like albums. Maybe we're old school like that, you know?
I've definitely got the same problem.
Yeah. And it's like, but I also like physical copies of albums, so you can sit there and listen to it and read the lyrics, you know.
But me too.
Yeah, back in the day, I mean, well, now in this day and age, I suppose it's people will download your album and stream 1 or 2 songs, and they'll just take it off their playlist.
Yeah.
Or something. And hopefully, you make a Spotify playlist or something, so at least one of your songs gets played or listened to. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Look. Maybe I'm foolish, but I'm not gonna give it up anytime soon. Yeah. How's that for an ending?
that's the one. That's the one. Right. You got it. Thanks for chatting.
That's awesome. Thank you, dude. What a treat, man. Thanks for thinking of me.
Rutger Hauer. If that also has been bothering you for the past 43 and a half minutes, Rutger Hauer is the dude who played the bad guy in Blade Runner. So sorry about that. I completely messed up. Anyway, what a nice dude Alastair is. That was a lovely chat. That was recorded a while back. So he has since released another song called Narcissist. It's on SoundCloud and the things. So go check it out. He has a Facebook page. Go look for Cockles in Facebook. So go like that page to keep up to date with new songs. Apparently, the guys at Dolph, who I spoke to in the beginning, is working on a new music video. So I'm gonna take a wild guess that a new song is coming our way. So, like the Facebook page, that's probably the best way to know when it drops. Speaking of liking things, if you like this podcast, please tell your friends. You know, even if you don't like this podcast, if you think it's kind of mediocre, tell your friends about it. I'd appreciate it. No one has ever in my life told me, hey, you know what I did over this weekend? I discovered this really mediocre thing. Maybe you want to be that guy. Maybe you want to start something new. Maybe you just want to make my day and tell someone about my podcast. I'd really appreciate that. It's called The Flow Chats. I don't think I've mentioned that yet. The Flow Chats. Other things you can do if you like this is go subscribe somewhere. There's probably a podcast app on your phone, or if there isn't, you should get one. Subscribe to this podcast. It is available in the iTunes library. It's available on Stitcher. I don't think it's available on Spotify yet. Not sure why. I'll have to look into that. But anyway, go subscribe it. And if you find it somewhere, like on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever, please, it'll really make my day if you can go like it, rate it, leave a comment. Even on our Facebook page, that's The Flow on Facebook, facebook.com/theflowza. Any kind of rating or comment or feedback, I'd appreciate. If that's not your vibe, just tell someone about this really mediocre podcast you know about. Hey, bonus points for listening to the very end. You are now officially my best friend in the world. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.